and honey, as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has promised you. So pay attention. Again, it's a dead horse. But the reason why it's a dead horse is because we forget so easily. Pay attention. Notice this. Focus on this, O Israel. The Lord is our God. The Lord alone. And you should love the Lord your God with all your heart. Remember heart? Not ooh. I was going to do something about praise songs, but I won't. It's not about emotion. It's not about right? No. It's with all your rational mental capabilities. Everything you think is focused on that. You can think about other things, but everything is focused. Everything is centered around loving the Lord your God. I mean, you can reconcile your checkbook, right? You can put in an address in Google and drive to a certain... You can do all that stuff. But everything is centered around loving the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being, and with all your strength, with everything that you think, everything you feel, everything you do. Everything that it means to be Roy Heller, everything that it means to be Debbie, everything that it means to be Carl, everything that it means to be Isabella, everything that it means to be Shirley, everything is centered around loving God. And that's the commandment that Deuteronomy is going to come to over and over and over and over and over. Keep these words that I'm commanding you today in your heart, in your mind, right? Recite them to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're away, when you lie down, when you rise. Bind them like a sign on your hand so that every time you see your hand you think, oh, love God. Right? Put them like an emblem on your forehead. So every time you look in a mirror, it's like, oh, that's right, love God. Right? Write them on the doorposts of your house so that every time you go in your house you think, oh, that's right, love God. Because I can tell you, you're really forgetful. I mean, somebody cuts you off on 75 and love God. It's actually not hard, but yeah. It's not. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land that he swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you a land with fine, large cities that you didn't build, houses filled with stores, all sorts of goods that you didn't fill, hewn cisterns that you didn't hew, vineyards and olive groves that you didn't plant, and when you've eaten your fill, you pay attention. You pay attention that you don't forget. This is the thing. This is just, you don't have to pay for this. Your tuition dollars don't pay for this one. But it's really true. And I don't think I've said it before in this class, but it's going to be true. It's true all. I think it's true Old Testament, New Testament. Every time God gives a blessing, God gives a test. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Every time God blesses you with something, that's always a test. God brings you into a land that you didn't plant the trees, you didn't build the houses, you didn't hew the cisterns, you didn't plant the vineyards, you eat your fill. Pay attention. Seriously. Beware. No, really, seriously. Seriously, David. Pay attention. That you don't forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. The Lord your God. That's the one you fear. That's the one you serve. And by his name alone you swear. Don't follow other gods or the gods of other people all around you, because the Lord your God who's present with you, he's jealous. And we talked about jealousy before. Verse 20, and then we really will finish with this. When your children ask you, in time to come, what's the meaning of all these decrees and the statutes and the ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded you? And this is what you say to your children. Well, actually, there are lots of different decrees. There's like the 10 Commandments in Exodus 20, and then there's the Covenant Code. Then there's the plans for the tabernacle. And then there's the book of Leviticus, and that's composed of the Levitical law and then the Holiness Code. And the way in which to understand that is that there are a series of clean and unclean, and holy things, and with the unclean, there are temporarily unclean, and there are permanently unclean, and human beings are never permanently clean, except a corpse, and blah, 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 all the stuff that we've been talking about for the past week. No. When your children come to you and they say, oh, what's up with all these laws and statutes and ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded you? This is what you say to your children. Seriously. This is what you say to your children. Sorry. We were fellow slaves in Egypt. But the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Lord displayed before our eyes great and awesome signs and wonders against Egypt, against Pharaoh, against all his household. And he brought us out from there in order to bring us in, to give us a land that he promised on oath to our ancestors. And the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, because that is a lasting good, so as to keep us alive. And I love that, because it's not just your heart beating, it's not just being able to walk around, no. Being able to love the Lord your God, that's what keeps us alive. Anything else is death. As is now the case. And if we diligently pay attention to this entire commandment before the Lord our God, as he's commanded us, we will be, and it says in the right, and I hate that, because the word that's used here is righteousness. You remember all those stories about Abraham? The whole purpose for the call of Abraham, the whole promise given to Abraham, the whole thing was dependent on nothing but righteousness. Treating people fairly and justly and with care. It's almost as if loving God, loving people, it's the same thing. At least according to Deuteronomy. And Jesus. Thank you. We'll come back next time. We're not over yet. It's good though, isn't it? Oh my God, Deuteronomy. That's good stuff. Thank you. And again, I'm just reading it. I'm not doing it like Leviticus that I could like